What's up again, guys? Brian here at 3TR, and I got another massive episode of the People's Questions, episode 104. Now, before I get into you guys' really major set of questions, as I'm sure you can already tell, today's episode I will be playing Bioshock, and I have two sets of congratulations to give out. First off, I would like to congratulate on an individual base Mark Main for now setting the new official record of the most questions sent by any one viewer, which the record is now 10. And I would also like to congratulate everyone who made this question list possible, because this is a new record of the most questions for one particular episode, which, if I remember correctly, we will have 34 questions this episode. So, let's get started. The first 10 coming from Mark Main, and you want to know, where do I come up with my intros? Well, my intros actually come from a very reliable source. I don't want to mention exactly who they are at this time, but they're very, very expensive to create, so it's highly unlikely that anyone would want to use this source to make intros. But these guys are really creative when it comes up to their intros, and I usually like to go to them maybe once every year and pick up 3 or 4 new intros, which is what I've done so far, and I think I have one more new one I need to unveil very soon, so that's kind of where my intros come from. It's just kind of a secret. Your next question: favorite kinds of meat to eat? I like to keep things simple. Ground beef or pork, anything I can eat with ketchup will work pretty much. Your next question: do I like to eat cereal? Yes, I do, and my favorite type is Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Your next question is, what movie would I like to see as a video game? I can't really think of any. I mean, there have been a couple of movies which do make very good video games, but off the top of my head, I can't really think of anything. Your next question is, can I do a review for Grand Theft Auto 5? Mark, I've actually already done a review for Grand Theft Auto 5. If you want, I can leave a link to it in the description down below, or if I remember correctly, I actually sent a link to your set of questions that you sent in for episode 103. But if you go back to, I want to say, October or September 30th, that's where you will find the review. Your next question is, what would I tell my past self? Well, if I can go back a year from now and give my younger self some advice, I would simply tell him to keep doing what he's doing, and he will do more than achieve his original goals for a 3TR for 2013. Next question is, what do I think of Obama being president? Well, I'll be honest, I didn't vote for him back in '08, and I didn't vote for him back in 2012, but I would say he's a much better president than Bush, and that's all I really care about. Next question is, can I do a thoughts and ideas video for Batman Arkham 4? I think I might have done something similar to this already. I think I did it a few months back when I did my Why I Don't Want the Joker in Arkham 4 video. And in that video, I'm pretty sure I went into depth with, if they can't use Joker, this is the direction I would like to see them take the storyline. And I think I might have talked somewhat with the gameplay and who should make it. So just check my video history and watch that video. The next question is, how come horror movies and games don't sell anymore? I just think that the idea of being able to scare people has become a bit obsolete, especially in terms of games. I've made the statement at this point that there's not a single game in the world that can scare me at this point on. I think only 2 games have ever been able to successfully do it. And in terms of movies, it's just based off of jump scares, and it's really hard to make a movie that actually has a scary atmosphere in order to frighten people. And most movies use those cheap tactics of just making really quick sound inputs to make people jump, and that's not considered scaring, that's just reacting. And your last question is, should they make a sequel to The Last of Us, and should it continue from Joel and Ellie's storyline, or just do something separate? Personally, I would not like to see a sequel for The Last of Us, but I know they're probably going to make one anyway. But if you want to keep things consistent, then yeah, it's best to just continue the storyline from Joel and Ellie. The next, 4 questions come from a newbie for the People's Questions, and she goes by the name Miss Solid Snake. And your first question is, Star Wars or Star Trek? I really like both of these franchises. On many ways, they're kind of on an even plane as of now, but if I had to pick, I would certainly pick Star Wars. I think just overall, it has a much richer storyline, better characters, and it has lightsaber fights, and I'm a big lightsaber fight buff. Your next question is, which franchise would I like to see do a crossover game with Mortal Kombat? What franchise? Well, if I, that's a tough one because when you're crossing over franchises, because Mortal Kombat has to share its environment with another franchise, it kind of has to be dumbed down, so it won't be as brutal. We saw this with Mortal Kombat versus DC, as in like the fatalities and the moves just didn't have the brutality, and that's really what makes Mortal Kombat special. But if I could really choose, if the boys at Capcom were not afraid to see their characters get ripped apart in very bad ways, then I would love to see a crossover game between Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. Both these games are like the kings of fighting games, and to have one game where you have every character in one would be a really great treat for all gaming fighting fans. Your next question is Superman the most overrated superhero of all time? No, I don't think Superman is overrated. I think Iron Man, as of recently, is overrated. But going back into Superman, I just think Superman gets a bad rap because Superman is constantly in a state of changing, and so the current generation has a different idea of what Superman should be, and most people get their input from Superman from movies, and so I think it's the fact that a lot of people weren't too fond of this new interpretation of Superman. I mean, I personally think he's great, but it establishes that he's the Superman of this age instead of being the Superman from previous ages. But no, I don't think he's overrated at all. If anything, Batman is a lot more over than Superman is. I mean, he is the most popular character in the DC universe. And your last question is, what are my thoughts on the Paranormal Activities movie series? Well, I'll be honest, Miss Solid Snake, I have not seen any of those films, but I know that they're cheaply made, and they deal with some type of ghost or demons, but that they make a lot of money every year, so it's just a simple factor of if we can make a movie cheaply and get a massive amount of, revenue and success and profit, then yeah, they're going to keep making these films cheaply and not really put much effort into the story. The next set of questions come from GSS765, and you want to know, have I watched Sucker Punch? If so, what are my thoughts on it? Yes, I have seen Sucker Punch, and although it is a visually beautiful film in my opinion, in terms of dialogue and storytelling, this is not Zack Snyder's best work, and he should just avoid stuff like this. Your next question is, what is my all-time favorite horror movie and villain? Well, in terms of horror movies, I'm not really a big fan of horror films, but if I had to pick one, I would say Event Horizon. And in terms of horror villain, if I can keep things simple, I would pick Freddy Krueger from the Nightmare on Elm Street films. Your next question is, do I prefer Solid Snake or Naked Snake / Big Boss? Hands down, Naked Snake / Big Boss. Big Boss is much more of an interesting character. He has more dimensions to him. He's gone to the most character development out of almost any character. And I just think that going into Phantom Pain and Ground Zero, I think we'll get the final inductions into exactly what led his life to go down that path and eventually start the Zanzibarland riots, or uprising, you would say. The next question is, who are my top 3 favorite Metal Gear Solid characters apart from the 2 mentioned above? Well, GSS765, I actually did a video talking about my list of favorite Metal Gear Solid characters, and if you want, just like Mark Main's question, I can leave a link for you in the description down below, or maybe you'll send a comment down below and I'll just send a link to that comment so it's easier to find. But yeah, I have done a video like this in the past. And your last question is, what is my favorite movie of all time? As it stands right now, it is Christopher Nolan's Inception. The next 4 questions come from Zarek Envy, and you want to know, what editing software do I use? Well, as it stands right now, I am using Vegas Movie Studios HD Platinum. And your next question is, what are my thoughts on and expectations on the upcoming RoboCop reboot? I'm actually looking forward to this reboot. Don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of the classics, and I don't think that this film will be as good as that film, but I really want to see them take this character in a new direction and do some new innovative things in terms of storylines. So that's why I'm really curious to see what they'll do with the RoboCop character. I just don't want to see it be a complete rehash of the original film. That's all I'm asking. Your next question is, have I seen Attack on Titan? If so, what do I think? Do I like it? I've never heard of Attack on Titan, but if you can give me some insights to what it is about, if it sounds interesting enough, I'll be sure to check it out. And your last question is, do I think that the Ratchet and Clank series is starting to burn out? In terms of video games, I do think it's starting to burn out a little bit. I wasn't a big fan of the latest incarnation of Ratchet and Clank. In fact, I don't think we've had a really great Ratchet and Clank game since A Crank in Time. But there is a Ratchet and Clank movie coming out in 2015, and I think that that will give the series some much needed gas in order to keep the franchise going, possibly even into a new media. The next set of questions come from Galen429, and you want to know, have I seen the animated series called The Batman? Yes, I have seen the series The Batman. I think it's a very underrated series for the Batman franchise, but I just don't like the animation. It really kind of always took me out of each of the episodes, and I really hated the look of the Joker. They kind of made him look like a deranged Jamaican in a crazy sense. The next question is, can I do a review for the Spectacular Spider-Man? You know, I would love to review an animated series, but the problem is I need a way in order to find all the episodes, and it's really hard for me to find time to really sit down and like hunt down each and every episode. And I don't like to review entire series unless I've seen absolutely every single episode. So maybe if it was released on DVD and Blu-ray and someone bought me a copy, then I would be more than happy to review it. The next question is, who is my favorite Spider-Man villain? Well, hands down it's Venom, with Carnage coming in as a good second place. Your next question is, will I review BBC's Sherlock when it airs in the United States? Well, Galen, I actually saw all the episodes for season 3 when they were released in the UK. I am such a big Sherlock fan, I just could not wait for them to be released here, so I just saw all the episodes online. So if you want, send me a request down below or send any other video, and I'll be sure to do a complete season 3 review of Sherlock. Your next question is, will I be reviewing Game of Thrones Season 4? Well, Galen, I have actually never seen an episode of Game of Thrones. I don't have HBO, and no one has bought me any of the previous seasons, so it kind of makes it impossible to review Season 4. But, as I said earlier, if someone is willing to buy me one of these seasons, then I'll be more than happy to review it. Next, 2 questions come from Draven G, and you want to know, what are my thoughts on the rumors that Dwayne Johnson will be playing Green Lantern in the Justice League film? I hope they are false. I like Dwayne Johnson / The Rock as an actor. He's really starting to impress me, but I do not want him to be Green Lantern. That's just not a right fit for him, and in terms of size, I don't want to see a Green Lantern make Batman and Superman look like a bunch of midgets. I mean, that's just how big The Rock really is. Next question is, what are my thoughts on the rumored Gotham TV show? I'm really curious to see what they do with this franchise. It's going to be really cool to see them kind of follow younger Jim Gordon and him apparently investigating the death of Bruce's parents. But I really don't like how apparently they're going to be incorporating certain villains of Batman at this point in time. I just think it should just keep things simple. Next 3 questions come from Ace Arcadia, and you want to know, what are my thoughts on PlayStation Now? I think it's really innovative to see exactly how it's going to work. I'm curious how many games far back we'll be able to access them, because apparently we can access them on just about any media device. I'm just curious to see exactly how far in terms of games we'll be able to go back, but I'm definitely going to test that sucker out when it's released. The next question is, what is the oldest game console that I own? At this point in time, I want to say it would be the N64 in terms of consoles, with the Game Boy Pocket being in handheld. Your next question is, have I seen the retro N5 console, and what are my thoughts on it? Yes, I have, and it looks very innovative. The only problem is if I were to buy one of these suckers, I would have to go to some antique game store to replenish my stock, since I don't own any of the games that this system would be able to play. And the last question comes from ToKilkoman91, and you want to know, what are my New Year's resolutions? Well, ToKilkoman, I'm going to keep things simple and just simply throw you the top 3 out of my 5 that I picked out. And that is, number 1, to move out, number 2, to actually go on a real date, since I haven't been on one in like 3 years, and number 3, it is to be recognized by one of you guys out there, since you guys are so cool. And with that, those are all the questions that you guys sent in this week for the People's Questions. I'd like to thank all of you guys for making this episode possible. And if you like this video, feel free to like, comment down below, and please subscribe to keep track of me, my future movie reviews, game reviews, and episodes of the People's Questions. And remember, if you have any questions that you'd like to send in for episode one on 105 next Friday, be sure to send them in and make sure they get into me before Wednesday, before I start filming. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I will see you next time.